Hi everyone! So we're live, and today we're going to continue drawing Melly right here, right next to me. You know, this is really the second half of something that we started last week, and I've already, I think, noticed in the comments that some of you were mentioning the fact that I would finish today. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Finishing with me? Maybe not. But I'm definitely going to continue drawing Melly. And by continuing, I mean trying to find that spot where, cross hatching becomes just like this very repetitive, meditative activity that you don't even noticing that you're doing. And next thing you know, you have a drawing, suddenly you sort of snap out of it and you've made a drawing. It's really the experience. So hi everyone. I see that a lot of you are already here. As always, I wish I could say hi to you individually. I recognize so many names though, so many names from so many places that seem so familiar to me now. I gotta tell you though, just in case you wonder, today is gonna be a very humid, muggy day out here on the East Coast. So I've already given up on trying to keep my hair straight, hence the mess. So that's the explanation for that. Guys, I'm using the same fountain pen as last week. What are you guys doing? Also continuing with me? I hope so. If you did start with Melly last week with me, I hope it is also your opportunity to continue it with me. Just a quick reminder, remember I was using this paper called Borden and Riley. It's very thin, very flexible, but also super, super smooth. Imagine this paper being like a moleskin paper, but kind of like a higher quality, because really nothing really bleeds through unless, of course, you empty your entire cartridge of ink and you smear it. I'm sure at some point it would go through, but it really does very well with keeping the ink on one side of the paper. So I'm pretty excited about that, and it's very smooth, which means that for the fountain pen, it's going to work really well. All right. So it doesn't mean, guys, that you have to do this in fountain pen with me. I know Ute, you will. Rick, you're here. Hi from Kentucky. How are you feeling? Just tell us, like, how are you feeling? Good. I hope you're happy to be here with us. Um, yay. So yeah, I know Ute is going to do this in fountain pen. I don't know how many of you are opting to use a fountain pen too, but obviously this is my pen of choice today. But you can use Procreate. I think that's what Jenny is doing. You can use pencil. Those of you who are good at watercolor, please go ahead, use watercolor. With your permission, I am going to take a sip of water before I start because I know it's going to be necessary as I start talking. Okay, so let's get your supplies ready. Okay. This feels good. All right. I'm gonna flip the camera. Oh my gosh, so Rick, you are back to work after 6 weeks. Oh, I can't imagine what that must be like, recovering and then being back to work. I hope that you're happy to be back at work, Rick. I'm thinking of you, and don't be surprised if in the very near future you see a portrait of you come up. Maybe not in the live, but over there on Instagram. Yeah. All right. So, guys, you can always snatch two of my classes at Sketchy. The code these days is crosshatching. And if you take any two of my classes, you get 20% off. Unfortunately, it does not apply for this brand new class that we have in July called 30 Faces, 30 Days. But everything else that I've taught um, at Sketchy, you can take two and get 20% off with cross-hatching. I've got something in my eye which will really be interesting as I start drawing. Okay, this is actually the little paper towel that I was keeping to wipe my pen on if necessary. Okay, it will be fine. Everything will be all right. Okay, so cross-hatching, get 20% off two of my classes. We've got Melly right here and a really nice profile, as you know. I'm not a big fan of how this is not actually flush with the photo. Oh, that is much better. Okay, everyone, let's grab our pens. Let's take our paper. I'm going to now flip the camera so that we are actually seeing what I'm doing. And this is what I did last week, okay? It took me about an hour. And today my plan is to use another hour and see how far I go. I really don't know, but we'll see. And Rick, oh, this is good news. This is good news because this is where I also get my inspiration pictures from Rick. When I don't necessarily always go on the sketchy app, the app, I go on Instagram and I see Rick putting up like 5 photos in a row, and one of them is usually inspiring, and I save it. So there you go. Okay. Thanks, Rick. I'm glad to see that. Okay, so I am uncapping my Mont Blanc. As you know, I'm using this 18 karat gold nib, which is really just fantastic to draw with. In the corner here, the ugly corner is where I was just sort of, wiping away the ink, because as I'm drawing with the nib upside down, I tend to scratch the paper a little bit, and every now and then you need to free up some ink right there on the side. It helps. I will also make sure that I do that on a separate sheet of paper. That way I don't just, end up going into the drawing. All right. Okay. All the reference photo links are now under the video. Okay, thank you, Sketchy. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna continue. I'm not sure where I'm gonna pick things up. It's really intimidating and this is part of the reason why it's hard for me to do a drawing in 2 sittings. But when I pick up a drawing that's already been started, you have to sort of get back into, at least with cross-hatching, into that gesture, the way it was when you left it. So what I usually do, just to relax my hand a little at first, I will do something like this, like go on a separate sheet of paper and you know, just relax, do something that makes absolutely no sense, but that does resemble what I'm going to end up doing on the drawing. Okay, let's see. I'm getting messages on the side too. Let me see. Ta-da. Let me leave that. Oh, I did not post a reminder on Instagram that I was actually doing this right now. Let me just try to do this quickly. I need to remind everybody on Instagram. Let me copy the link. How am I going to do this? Okay, how do we do an Instagram post in less than 10 seconds? Let's do it like this. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm going to take a photo of this and say live now. Okay, live now. Boom. Big letters and the link. Oh gosh. Okay, putting sketchy here. There we go. All right, this should work. Sorry about that. It needed to be done. Okay, World Watercolor Month. Stina, is that true? I guess it's not my month because, as you may know, watercolor is really not my favorite medium, to say the least. Just because I've never learned it, but maybe if I really cared, I would pick it up. Okay, so we've got Melly. I think I'm going to now get into it. Are you guys ready? I'm going to try to keep it so that you can see what I'm drawing at any given moment. Okay. All right. So there's going to be a mouth at some point. But here there's not much light on Melly's lips. I don't know if you've noticed. Very little in this area here. So I'm going to go super lightly, you know, and hope that it works. And hope that I'm also keeping proportions somewhat accurate of, I don't know. I hope you guys had a good week. Okay. Henri says my lines hook at the end too. Okay. So I think you're going a little fast. You need to really stop and lift your pen up before you go back to the next one, because that hook is when you're still on the paper and dragging the ink to the next one. That's the whole hook problem, right? So just make sure that again, you know, this is like playing an instrument. Just pick up your pen before you know, just a half a second faster, I gather. That's the best way I can describe it. Okay. Oh, by the way, I need to tell you that this is where things could really go awfully wrong too. You know, this is where I'm picking things up from last week, but this is also where things could go south. You know, this is my usual disclaimer. Drawing with a fountain pen, anything can happen, right? Anything at all. What's interesting is because I just refilled the ink in my pen, the ink is a slightly different color. Not only is it fresh ink, which will always appear as a little lighter, but it is lighter because it is new ink, brand new ink that just went in a few minutes before the broadcast. Again, I'm using toffee brown ink. Hoping I'm pronouncing that word right. Okay, I'm getting messages. What's going on? Okay. All right. Right. So, okay, today is the 20th. Tomorrow we're gonna tomorrow next week we're gonna have another one. You know, of these live drawings that we've been doing. You know, since mid-March. We're doing another one next week, but next week will be just 3 days before the beginning of 30 Faces, 30 Days on Procreate. So next week will be drawn on Procreate. So next week, the live will be in Procreate in preparation for 30 Faces, 30 Days, which we are starting on July 1st. 30 Faces, 30 Days with Patrick, Tiffany, Nadia, Lisa, Margaret. Who am I forgetting? I think that's it, right? And myself. Did I just say 6 people, including myself? I hope I did not forget anybody. Patrick, Tiffany, Nadia, Lisa, Margaret, and myself. I think that's it, right? So the 6 of us are going to be the people, the mentors, doing 30 Faces, 30 Days for the month of July. And you guys know how much I love drawing on Procreate. It is really the most portable, just fun medium out there. So we're doing this next week, preparing in anticipation for it. Okay, I'm doing Millie's upper lip right now. Trying not to to mess up too badly. There's a lot going on in lips. Little creases. Okay. Oh, cool. Some of you have signed up, and you signed up for 30 Faces, 30 Days. Jenny also. I'm so happy, guys. It's gonna be good. You know, I'll be honest, if someone told me, oh, you know, for the rest of your life now you're only gonna draw digitally, I think I would be, I mean, of course, it would be weird maybe to have to limit myself, but I would be perfectly happy with that. I love the versatility of it. It's just too convenient. It's too great a tool. Scratch, scratch. Oh my gosh, Stina, you are so funny. So, Stina, you got a new iPad, right? And you have not unboxed it yet. I love that. I love that you are so, you know, tentative about opening this new thing. And very good question, Anina Hendricks. You're asking, do I need an Apple Pencil for Procreate? I would say this is preferable because really, Procreate is tailored for what the Apple Pencil can do. Um, Now, it's a difficult thing for me to tell people, you know, to say, oh, really, you need to get an Apple Pencil because I know how expensive they are. I know because you know, I bought the first generation, then I bought the second generation. So yeah, it's a lot of money, and you know that I'm also a big advocate of seeing people draw with whatever is at hand rather than you know getting expensive supplies. Like you know what I'm using today, I'm using a you know $900 pen. And how can I justify this? Well, it's great, but as it turns out, really, the Apple Pencil is the best out there. It is really the tool that goes with the iPad the best. Period. You know, there were a lot of great styluses out there before, and they're still out there, and they're still great. And I know because I also own several of these. You know, like the Adonit and things like that, right? Even the paper by 53 pencil is great. But now, now that, you know, I've gotten my hands on an Apple Pencil, this is just, there's nothing like it, you know, nothing like it. But, right, so exactly what Sketchy is saying. So that really reinforces what I'm trying to say, Anina, is that it is just the best tool out there. There's just no doubt about it. And again, all the features of Procreate that I believe you can unlock, they are really meant to be unlocked with the Apple Pencil. Okay. And yes, there will always be, you know, as Marcel says, you know, cheaper versions of this wonderful tool that is the Apple Pencil. But I'll always remember the day I went to Grand Central in you know in Manhattan, and I tried the Apple Pencil. It was like maybe a couple of months after it first came out. Um, there it was, you know, on display. So I decided to try it on this brand new iPad that I did not even have yet. The iPad, I don't know if it was called the Pro already. I guess it was. The moment I I had that Apple Pencil in my hand, oh my gosh! I looked at the Apple Store employee, and I said, "This is gonna kill every other stylus, right?" And he said, "Yeah." And I mean, really, yeah, it's just a great tool, period. But it's also $159, so I get it. I get it. I will always remember also back in, I think it was October 2016, doing an event at the Apple Store in Manhattan on the Upper East Side. And I was taken into a room before I did my presentation at the Apple Store. And I was taken into this, this room before everybody got in. And here I was, surrounded by iPad Pros, and they had like jars full of Apple pencils. Like, I don't know, like maybe 20 per jar. I was like, wow, that's a lot of money right there. It's a lot of good tools concentrated in a very small area. Anyway, no regrets on, and just like with, Apple products in general, and this is not me being, paid by them to say so at all, but they've always worked, period. They've always delivered on on their promise, you know. So yeah. All right, Sheila, what are you asking me? Let's see. Could you talk about how you decide how and where you crosshatch in your drawing? Yeah, I'm sure I could if I knew what I'm doing. That would help, right? Of course, I don't know what I'm doing, but what I can say is this: is I look at the original photo and I look at the volume, right? So I look at what I have to deal with in terms of, do I have a curve going this way, or is it something that's more like concave, And then I go in and try to mark these like a 3D, more or less like a sculptor. I know I say that a lot, but this is really how I tackle this. So let's take a look at what's going on here, Shia. We're gonna have a cheek, which is, as you know, it's got volume like this, but there's definitely a cheekbone to deal with there. And I want to convey that with lines, right? So I am going to somehow bring my lines in so that they show that curve. And my gosh, I'm not going to be able to talk too much while I do this. But somehow you want to always keep in mind when you lay down any line, whether you start in this direction or in that direction for that matter, it doesn't really matter the way you start, that you are dealing with 3D, that you are dealing with conveying a shape that is not flat. By the way, may I draw your attention to the difference of color? Do you see it, guys? Do you see that this is much darker than this? I see it. Not that it matters a great deal, but it's funny. Up, up. So as I'm moving in this, curved area, I'm just trying to curve, like, gently. There's no rush there. That's why it takes me forever to crosshatch. Because the moment you rush, the moment you want results, 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 that's the enemy of the process. That is really, wanting results is what's going to take you away from getting good results because you don't slow down to appreciate you know, the process. Okay. I cannot believe what you're saying. Adebapo Taiwo. Really, I'm saving to get the iPad Pro and its pencil in Nigeria. It's almost $1 million in our currency. Oh my gosh. Wow. The stuff we learn. Oof. Thank you, Anne. Thank you. Sheila, I hope I answered your question. Are you seeing the shadows as shapes? Um, that's a good question. Well, for me, wherever there's a little bit of shadow, it's because there's a shade, because the light hits from above, so whatever is underneath is a shape. Therefore, it's in a little bit of shadow. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. And Ute, please keep in mind that it's okay to be random and weird. I think. Yeah, I think it's okay. You can make it more random than this. I don't think that would be an issue. As long as wherever you are on your drawing, you don't lose track of the overall volume of that face, right? Because we've got quite a bit of real estate to cover today. Do you agree? Look at this randomness right there. What is France doing? I'm not sure. It's going to tie in together at some point. It will. You also have to trust that process, that we're diving in pen, obviously, so this is putting a lot of faith in what we do with our hands, okay? So yeah, we need to slow down. Yeah. Slow down and just take the time to look at where the volume is. You don't see me rush through this. I think the really something significant that I get from some people is, oh, I'd love to draw like you, but I don't have the patience. Well, there you go. You've just you've just summed it up. I don't have the patience. Whereas I think if you really look at what I'm doing, that's all it is. I'm observing and I'm somehow translating, you know? And it is patience. You have to slow yourself down. Give yourself the time to place these where your eye really sees them. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm going to end up overdoing this, okay? Okay. Jenny, don't worry about curving versus going straight. If you do go straight, keep them rather short and it's going to work. It really is. Because at the end of the day, you want to convey a certain idea of, lights and darks. And if that means that you stay with straighter lines, it's not gonna damage your drawing at all. It won't. I notice myself, for instance, that when I do curvier lines is when they are longer on a bigger surface, and it seems to help at that moment, but it's not a dogma, really isn't. Okay. Spinning this thing around, guys. Crazy. there are lots of interesting lines here in Millie's skin, which I can add after a little bit of cross-hatching. You see, like here. Could work. Yeah. And I agree, Nikira, that it's the ability to see, but without patience, that ability to see, you know, you can't really make it work, in my opinion. Yes, Robert, fountain pen is a slow burn. It's slow going. And frankly, that's just all I need on the Saturday at noon like this with you guys. Whew, this is the best. Look, I'm going back into the old marks of last week. Why? I don't know. I just feel the need to just make this area a tiny bit darker. Like here too. Okay. There's definitely two hues of brown. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Guys, keep in mind that sometimes I wish I had all the answers as to how I do things. But because I was never taught, and because I was never taught with terms and why this works and why this doesn't, sometimes I am very much at a loss to explain why certain things work for me. That is really definitely one of the curses of being, you know, having figured this out on my own. I don't like saying totally self-taught because, gosh, I've read, you know, comics upon comics. So those, you know, in a way were my education. You know, it would be a little bit disingenuous, I think, to say that I was entirely self-taught. I think my consumption of, you know, dozens and dozens of comics when I was a kid was a form of training. And to call myself entirely self-taught, for that matter, is like, you know, I'm iffy. But all this to say that I never learned formally with people telling me, well, this is called cross-hatching and we're going to learn how to do this today. First of all, I didn't know it was cross-hatching years into doing it myself. I had no idea what it was called, so yeah. And Brett, I agree. Oh, hey, Brett, you're here. Oh my gosh. I love how a drawing can look so much more interesting than a photo. Amen. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's what we bring into that drawing, right? It's our vision, it's our hands. That's why I like drawings to stay sketchy and not too neat, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, Robert, I think the whole thing about cross-hatching, not necessarily like, okay, here's one way, and then, you know, 90 degrees this way. I rarely do that. More often than not, I'm going to do this with the wide side. It's like this, right? And then you tilt a little, and then it's like that. Okay? And all of that creates a mess, which eventually your eye will see as, I think they're called values, right? Okay. And yes, Ute, my gosh, growing up in France and growing up also in a family of people who were very much tuned into, you know, the arts and great comics. Um, Over here behind me on my shelves, I have a bunch of comics that over the years I was able to bring back from France. And man, these are the masters. Like the people on the shelf right there are the reason why I draw. Period. They're just yeah, like Möbius, Bilal, Enki Bilal, Jean Giraud, who is the same man as Möbius but under another name. Now these people were my, you know, my guiding light. I was just staring at their drawings and just wanted to draw like that. And that's all that mattered to me. I just wanted to draw. Everything else really didn't quite matter. Being pretty, having a boyfriend, all that stuff in high school, no, not me. Nope. Just wanted to draw. I just wanted to be really good at something. Okay. Yeah, you love Bilal. Awesome. Yay. Yes, Lydia, I really appreciate that you say that, because I think that because I come from a background of not having learned the skills formally, then I can really relate to the fact that, you know, people don't quite necessarily have an instinct for things. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm going to do, Lydia? When we go back to Sketchy Art School after this, when we post the work, I'm going to give you the names of my favorite. They're not all French, by the way. Bilal, I believe, is he from Serbia originally? I believe maybe definitely former Yugoslavia, but I don't want to get him mixed up. I don't want to say Croatia and him being Serb, but I think, or Bosnia. Enki Bilal. Oh, I don't, sorry, I'm not getting it right, but he is from that area, and oh, his work, oh my gosh, blow you away. And the cross-hatching of Jean Giraud will blow you away too. My gosh, the skill, the amount of skill that these men had. Jean Giraud died in 2012, I believe. Okay, lips. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know Alberto Immortel ad vitam. I don't know that. And yes, Adedapo never had a boyfriend in high school. No, my mom would not have appreciated that. And it's not like I could anyway, so no, I was not that kind of person. I was a tomboy anyway. I think a lot of people at school probably thought I was a boy, so that kind of restricted the pool of people to begin with. Kept my hair very short. Basically kept boys at bay. Yeah. I had a skill for that. Okay. Well, I'm still, obviously, you know, I didn't go too far, but that's, you know, it's exactly what cross hatching is. You know, it's this very slow progression of lines. Um, let's see. can I now move on and try not to lose the angle? So I'm kind of below here on the camera, but bear with me. Maybe I can raise, okay, the iPad and this. Okay, can you still see okay? I don't want to lose the angle because I think already that I put the mouth at a goofy angle, but if I do it like this, hopefully this is correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, Annie, you have a very good question. The world of comics in France, and I think Belgium too, unfortunately, French people have a tendency to co-opt Belgian artists as, you know, as French. That's horrible, but it's true. You know, a lot of people in France, French, you know, stand-up comedians, actors, a lot of people who we believe are French are actually Belgian, Francophone Belgian from Wallonie, you know. Uh, but all this to say that this world of French and Belgian comics is very much male dominated, has been for decades and decades. So it's rare to find a female artist, but one in particular that I can think of when I was a kid, whose work I really loved, and she died, I believe, last year or maybe this year, was Claire Bretéché. I don't know if that's a name that rings a bell for any of you. Claire Bretéché made some really, really cool comics. I liked her a lot, and she was really kind of the only one, the only female comic artist out there. All right, Felix, I'm going to address your question. How do you get the proportions right? You know where, by the way, they are not, but anyway, you know how you can draw lines, you can draw a grid, and that way you follow those lines and you see if you got it right. Well, that grid is more or less, you know, in my head. So okay, you know, I align this with, you know, somewhere here. This is aligned with this, and that kind of is how I go. Yeah. So it's more mental than anything else. Yep. Okay. Ute, turning my notebook to get better hatch lines means smearing all the time. Yeah, I know. I remember the blotting paper that we used to use in elementary school when we first started writing with fountain pens. That was great. Like we used to call that buvard in French. Buvard meaning drinking paper, and that was really useful. Maybe that's something you might want to get your hands on, Ute, right? And also keep in mind that if you are right-handed, you go from west to east and try to work that way. Like now I can touch this because it's dry, but it's true that you have to be careful to let it dry. Guys, you know that at Sketchy you can pick up any two of my classes right now with the code crosshatching. If you look underneath this video, you have the code crosshatching, which gives you 20% off any two of my classes. Unfortunately, apparently it does not include the July 30 faces, 30 days, but everything else you can snatch and get 20% off. Yay! I love that. Your drawing is so awesome, sister. Thank you. Oh, interesting. Lösch Papier, like deleting paper. Ute, that makes sense. That makes so much sense. Ute, did I tell you that my dad, my actual biological dad, was a German teacher in France? So I had to take years and years and years of German growing up to please the patriarchy. And you know, I got a lot out of it because I love German. So when somebody speaks German, my little antenna just go, oh, oh, I want to hear that. You know, I love that. Oh, Claire Bretéché. Yeah, thank you. Chris, thank you. That's super useful. Thanks. Claire Bretéché. I know some people called her Claire Bretécher. Um, Felix, don't worry about the paper thickness too much. What you want is something smooth. But yeah, you want something that can handle, you know, a certain amount of ink. And this is not thick paper at all that I'm using. Take a look. Not thick at all, but it's good quality ink paper. It works well with that. Oh, how's everybody doing? Okay? Yeah? Okay. Good. Let me keep on going. I'm so glad to hear this, Cynthia. Yeah, I absolutely love the German language myself. I'm a sucker for anything in German. When I lived in France, because I lived right on the German border in Alsace, we used to watch ARD TV, CDF. We used to listen to SWF Dry, and that was kind of like my exposure right there. On top of all, you know, the studying. Mm-hmm. I don't think I have that pretty accent, Ute, when I try to speak German. I'm sure it's pretty pathetic. Okay, we're getting there, right? I like what you guys are saying about languages. Tina, I agree. Well, all languages. I love Spanish too. Oh, Felix, I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you. Sweet. So this lockdown actually forced you to take, to take the time to take the classes. I love knowing that. That is so nice. I don't know how many of you here today were taking drawing at home with France, but it has definitely been one of the most pleasant experiences for me to turn this confinement into an opportunity to create and get better at something. Yeah, yeah. What an amazing way to turn something that could have been a real bummer into an opportunity to grow. Okay, I'm trying to stay in camera, right? Okay, there's an interesting wrinkle that I don't want to mess up. It's right there. It goes like this. Let's try to do it right. That's me talking to myself. Let's try to do it right. Is everybody doing okay? Thank you so much for your really positive comments, Adedapo. That really helps because um, you know, a lot of us here, we've already been kind of hanging around in each other's circles, and when somebody new comes along and tells me, "Oh, hey, guess what? I learned so much through your lessons." It's like, "Oh my gosh, you know, it's neat." Thank you. Um, oh wow, Big Al, you're here, Al Lopez. Thanks for being here. I'm glad to hear that. I'm very happy to hear what you're saying. Thank you, Al. Yep. All right, Amir, I'm going to answer your question. Amir Moaref, I am using a brown. It's really brown, um, and it's called toffee brown, and it's a color ink by Montblanc, the same brand as the fountain pen itself. It's Montblanc. There you go. Yeah. I'm kind of plowing through here, but I really don't know how far this is going to go. Probably not very far. Those of you who have been, you know, drawing with me know how this goes. Oh, really? I did. Oh, I did Apo. I wasn't sure whether I was saying your name right. I'm glad that, you know, I went with my instinct there and I kind of hit the target. That's good. Okay. Yes, Cynthia, you can definitely get this ink, but there's absolutely no need, Cynthia, to get Mont Blanc ink if you don't have a Mont Blanc. Because by the way, this is not waterproof. There are waterproof inks out there that are probably much better suited for what you want to do. So the Mont Blanc ink is not necessarily, you know, what you want to lean towards. Just go with any brown, really. Um, you won't be disappointed. It doesn't have to be this particular brown. I found some amazing browns in, you know, the brand Schaefer. The Schaefer browns are gorgeous. Waterman brown are great too. So frankly, yeah, brown doesn't have to be this particular brown, this particular brand of brown. So don't feel obligated to go with this toffee brown. It's great, but I don't find it exceptional. I just thought that because I'm using a Mont Blanc, that Mont Blanc ink was gonna be better suited. And I agree, it's great, but you'll see that when you try other brands, the brand, you know, as I said, Schaefer will be just as just as great. I hope everybody is doing okay and is relaxing while we're doing this. I'm thirsty again, but I'll wait. I'm just enjoying this a little too much. Oh, do they? Anne, I did not know that. So, okay, Anne is telling us that Noodlers has so many nice browns. Question, Anne, do they come in cartridges, or do they come in ink bottles, like the the one I use for the Mont Blanc? Please tell us. That I would like to know that. Wow, I really went slowly today, huh? Okay, let's see if I'm getting it right. The neck will be here. Something like that. Okay, I'm doing the, underneath the chin there. I'm in that area. Okay. Kevin, you're asking where's the best place to get good ink? I buy everything online because I don't live anywhere close to an art supply store. That would mean a lot of driving for me. So I get everything from the interwebs. I go on Amazon and, you know, I get them from there. So all the ink that I've ever gotten for this particular pen, I bought on Amazon. Let me show you another ink that I have. Um, it's also a Mont Blanc. I'm going to put it there. Take a look at that. It's Mont Blanc golden yellow ink. It's pretty neat. This is a smaller bottle. If I pull out the bottle, you will see that it's actually really small. Okay, you see this? And it's really gold. It's a beautiful color. Much smaller, so this was actually cheaper than the bigger one. But absolutely lovely color. I had my Mont Blanc in this color for a while, and I liked it a lot. But then for drawing, I wanted something a little more intense, a little darker, so I went back to the toffee brown. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Cynthia, I was using the yellow for everything. I don't, I'm not a person who switches pens within a drawing. I draw all in one kind of pen, and that's it. And it better work, or else. So no, I was doing everything in yellow, and that was fine. That was fun. I was writing in yellow. I was taking notes because it's not yellow, it's gold, so it's actually a very, very light brown. It was just lovely, but I missed the brown after a while, so I went back to brown. Okay, I see you guys are nerding out on ink color on the on the comments. That's great because I have no idea how to join that conversation. Yeah, I don't think the hair is getting addressed there at all. What time is it? Whoa! Guys, it's 1 o'clock. We've been together for 1 hour. I'm gonna go for 5 more minutes, okay? Because I believe I started drawing at it was probably 7 past the hour. Um, so at least I want to put in 60 minutes to be fair. Oh, sorry, I'm off camera. Yeah, I don't think it would be a luxury to do a third week of this. I agree with you, D. Wade from the UK. The thing is, next week, as you know, everybody, um, next week we're doing Procreate in preparation for 30 Faces, 30 Days Procreate edition. So I'm very excited about drawing in Procreate next week. Oh my gosh, thank you, Marcel. Do you think it's a masterpiece? I don't know. I think it's got two different browns. But I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I like it. I think my proportions might have gotten a little goofy, but yeah, it gets really dark here under her chin. Love. Okay. Is that an extra fine nib? Susie, I'm so glad you're asking this question because, oh no, it's not. Susie, this is a medium. Um, it's a medium nib, which means that when you write with it, you're going to end up with a fairly, medium line. And by the way, this is the paper I was using on the side. See? But when you flip, then you get a super, super fine kind of line. So, yeah. There you have it, medium Mont Blanc nib. What is it? 18 karat gold, right? I said, yeah. Can't believe I walk around with that in my purse. Scratch, scratch. Yeah, the flow in this pen is just amazing. Amazing. It's such a flawless flow. Every time you grab this pen, it just goes. Can't say that of all fountain pens, right? No, ma'am. This is just so. Grail pen. Well, I don't know. When you draw at a certain scale, it's going to take you forever if you go with very fine lines like these. It's kind of the case for me right now. Okay. Wow, it's amazing how, um, you know, basically that's all I did. Hope I'm still on camera, yes. Okay. Oh yeah, Stina, you're also getting a really old fountain pen. Stina, can I ask you about that orange Mont Blanc? What year is it? Mine is an 87. Some of you already know this already. And yes, Lydia, I will head over to Sketchy Art School right after this. Guys, this is where we're going. As soon as I finish the broadcast today, we're going to Sketchy Art School. There's a group called Drawing with France, and it's free to join. And we all meet there and we share what we drew. What I'm going to try to do is do a scan, not just take a photo with my phone, but do an actual scan with my scanner and really get into the details so that you can see, you can really see where the lines are, in which direction they went, all that good stuff, okay? Ta-da! I think this is where I'm going to stop for today. Okay? Alright, so Stina gave it to him on his 30th birthday in 1936. Oh my gosh. So your Mont Blanc would be 86 years old. My gosh. Making my Mont Blanc seem like, a toddler at the ripe age of 33. Okay, so you guys, why don't I stop here? I'm going to try to make the best scan that I can make of this drawing so that not only will I, post this, which is fine, but also post it in, excerpts so that you can really get into the details of it. Yeah, would that work? Okay, so let's head over to Sketchy Art School. It's going to take me a few minutes to do this scan. And next week, June 27th, we're going to be together here again. But this time, I'm going to be on my iPad Pro with my Apple Pencil. And we're going to be preparing for 30 Faces, 30 Days, July edition. Okay, so yeah, did I finish? No, I didn't finish. Of course not. But I really enjoyed doing this with you. It's amazing how we can be close, like you know, I mean, shoo, we had people from everywhere today. And it's great. So thank you, everybody. Keep in mind, if you want to grab 2 of my classes, you get them 20% off with the code crosshatching at Sketchy. Okay, so everybody, I am going to post this on Sketchy Art School as soon as I get a good scan going, and I'm going to break it down a little bit. Let's head over to the group, Drawing with France, and you just post, you just dump your work there, and I'd like to take a look at it. Okay? All right, this is Melly, Melly Rose Test, I believe her full name is. All right, and yes, finishing is overrated. You got that right. This is all about studying. This is all about learning. What have we learned today? Well, that cross-hatching is slow, isn't it? Everybody, can you please have a great week? Be good, and I'll see you next week, next Saturday, for a Procreate edition, which doesn't force anybody to draw in Procreate. You can also draw in, you know, fountain pen if you'd like, you know, with this kind, or anything you want. All right, everybody, it's time for me to tell you besos, abrazos, et à bientôt, d'accord, à la semaine prochaine. Ciao, everybody. I'll see you soon. See you on Sketchy Art School. Bye.